Here we are in Alberta, Canada. Gonna do a cold start video on a 1999 Nissan Safari, also called the Patrol in Australia. I think it's about 15 degrees out, Celsius. Got a cross-country Monster intercooler with a UFI 18G and a 270 horsepower UFI 12mm pump buried somewhere down deep in there. I think I need to work on the timing a bit. Other than that, it runs pretty darn good. Imported from Japan about 5 years ago. Super clean interior. Actually just a really super clean truck. Got the Google head unit, driving camera, 3 gauges. Trans has some work done to it. It's got a valve body, not super aggressive, but I'm working through some issues with heat right now when it's not connected, or sorry, when it's not in lockup. EFG KO2s, mountain bike rack from Recon Racks out of Washington State. TD42t 1999, roughly 130,000 on it kilometers. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Yeah, Japanese 2A, whatever that means. So on this engine, the only real electronics is a water temperature gauge, temperature sensor, gotta dig deep here actually, there's really nothing. This is obviously EGT sensor way back there. Even my boost sensors, mechanical. My oil temperature sensor, if you can see it, it's really buried down in there. Well, so you have I don't even know what sensor that is. We have a throttle position sensor, but that's not it. Just a throttle position sensor. Yes. Yeah, that's really hard to see. Well, for a camera. This bundle of cables in this conduit is all just for the batteries. 12 volts, deep cycle, Costco, fantastic batteries for cheap. I had to rewire because the posts were not on the right side, but it actually worked out really quite clean. Electronic fuel pump, just for priming. Got a automatic transmission cooler. Power steering cooler, always helps with the 35s. There's my sensor block for my mechanical transmission temperature gauge. I don't know, I don't think I would go mechanical again. I don't know why I went mechanical. LED headlights, a temperature thermostat, so it isolates the transmission temp in a continuous loop prior to the cooler to get it up to temperature. I think it clicks over at 160 degrees. It seems to be where it starts to stabilize on the lower end when you're locked up in third and fourth with the torque converter. As soon as you unlock, temperatures skyrocket. Was doing, in drive mind you, towing a light trailer, going up a hill at maybe 35 kilometers an hour, and that temperature gauge spiked to 285. Incredibly fast. To the point where I thought it was a problem with the gauge. I don't know what that says about the transmission. It doesn't feel like it slips. Hooks up really good. Any thoughts on that? Put a comment in the comment section. I'd be very much appreciative. Yeah, got the MAN filter. I've had this thing for well over a decade. I was going to put it on a Volkswagen TDI, but the TDI was actually making too much power. I probably should replace this actually. I don't know. If you know if that should be replaced or not, let me know. I actually got a feed. It's pretty slick, never had a problem with it. Totally expected to. Feeding out of the bottom, it's hard to see there. That line feeds right down on the frame rail. See if I can get the camera in there. I tuck it into the side of the engine block. Jeez, this truck is tall. It's a turbo feed. I might have to call. Oh yeah, right there. Feed it into the side of the block through a one-way check valve. And it's never backed up on me. My intake is clean. I do provide a takeoff, which is always important to me, I think, on a vehicle, to not have them just go to atmosphere. Not necessarily for the environmental concerns, but more so because I think you should have your engine always under a little bit of vacuum. I guess at least at idle on a turbo motor, but it kind of scavenges the gases out of your valve cover. You don't get seals which start to leak and weep. And on all my vehicles, I've never really had a problem with that. And maybe that's why. Put some more fluid in the viscous hub of the fan, some 10,000 centipoise. So, you know, there's some nice resistance to it. Keeps the engine cool. Updated fan out of a G35 Infinity here in Canada. Very important when you modify the cooling system on these to keep the fan shroud intact. The fan cannot pull air through the core if it is just open. Colossal waste. And I don't know if this is in Japan only, but a lot of the Australian guys in their shroud, they got a divider, so really it's only pulling from part of the radiator, some big hole over on this side. The one from Japan does not have that. It actually pulls from the entire radiator. So when I had to do a modification for my on-track fabrication snorkel, I went through great effort to seal up. I mean, it looks like a butcher job now, and in retrospect, I could have done a much better job. I might even in the future with a piece of aluminum. But for right now, doing it in a driveway, and I think I did it in the middle of winter, or at least the fall, it works pretty damn good. Yeah, I got the winch, the factory bumper. Again, I've had aftermarket steel bumpers on, well, a other vehicle before, and it was a high quality bumper, properly installed. And in Canada, they get rock chips and they rust quite quickly. And to be honest, it was more of a pain in the ass than it was worth. So yeah, old school, heavy duty. The ring gear in this, I don't know how big it is, but it's big. This has actually got 4 11s in it, being from Japan, which this thing has a lot of get up and go. Something I battle with here is the rust. I don't know how to address that. spray it down every once in a while, but I think it's going to turn into an issue eventually and begin to weep around the seals. If anyone's found a solution there, please write a comment. Yeah, super clean. Going back to the suspension I previously talked about with the new Ford. How do I get a good picture of that? I think any vehicle owner, if they want to enjoy their vehicle as much as they can, first modification should be the shock absorbers. On this one, because it wasn't going with a crazy lift, and I guess in retrospect this is the factor which actually limits my articulation the most, besides the sway bars, but you can address that with the disconnect, is these are only 2-inch shocks. But they're the big body, they're the Raid 90s, they're expensive, they were like 1,800 bucks delivered to my door for all 4. Low pressure oil bath shock. I don't think it's a twin tube, it's a mono tube, all steel construction. So yeah, rust, I gotta touch them up. I should take them off, redo the rubbers and paint them red again, make them look pretty. But these things will last forever, and they are just incredible. I can get air in this thing and it feels like I'm on a pillow. Which for a 2-inch shock, really old technology. I know it's going to last forever. I don't know, it speaks to me. Simple. Simple is beautiful. Yeah. So 7-pin, got a trailer brake controller. It's an absolute hack job. I'm not happy with it at all. I've actually had to redo it every year for the last 4 years because the salt here just kills. It's another reason why I bought a new vehicle. I want this one to last for a long time, and I don't like the rust. I get under here and I paint it every year or every other year. Tried a bunch of different products. Really, I want to take it off the road, bring it into a nice warm shop, put on an exhaust brake, again for towing, get the lockup for the torque converter if I have to, do a transmission rebuild, 4-inch BD exhaust brake that goes down to a 3.5, so it'll fit right in the exhaust, perfect, lots of area to install it. Having only 130,000 on it, I bought it with I think 115. Really don't drive very much. This thing will last for probably another 600,000 kilometers. And be fun doing it. Towed my trailer. I'll put a picture in there, show you what it looks like. It's small. From Alberta to BC 2 weeks ago. And got 19.8 miles per gallon calculated, and I was doing around 120 kilometers an hour, which this truck does not enjoy. Being old steering, a little bit higher off the ground. The tires help being nice and wide with the increased track. That's why I switched out from my old forged aluminum Volk racing wheels. They were just too narrow. These ones are heavier, but it transforms the truck. It drives like a sports car now, kind of, with the shocks and the heavy duty springs from Old Man Emu. Believe it or not, 3-inch on the front and only 2 in the back, and it's still back high. But yeah, I towed the trailer a couple thousand kilometers at least, and 19.8 miles to the gallon average, which I think is pretty good in a brick. Anyways, thank you for watching. First video. If you don't like it, I don't care. If you do like it, post a comment. The exhaust on the warm cold start, not too bad. Engine's pretty healthy. This is obviously pre anything to do with EPA. There aren't any electronics on the motor. Got a Legend X exhaust. Fairly good condition. Fairly clean undercarriage. Let's check out the motor. So recently picked up a 2018 Ford F150 PowerStroke. It's got the V6 3-liter out of the Range Rover, Land Rover and Jaguar lineups, originally designed by Ford quite a while ago actually. Has really good reliability, fantastic fuel economy, the polar opposite of that last engine, everything for emissions that needs to be there for 2018. But all of it seems to be pretty good and non-intrusive. Only 1,100 kilometers on it right now. Going from a vehicle with absolutely no electronics to one that's got all LED lighting, active shutters in the grille. It's got park assist, active lane keeping, automatic cruise control. Basically, it won't let you hit anything, back anything over, or run anything over, unless you're really trying to. And a lot of people might not like that, but there's something to be said for technology. Got the nice Vista moonroof, automatic running boards. I have it so that the mirrors, they fold in when I lock the car. I don't know if I'll do it right now because I got the hood open. Nope. Yeah, I really like the headlights. Obviously in real life they're not moving around like that. Yeah, so it's got the radar in the front, it's got radar in the back, LED tail lights, power sliding window, short box. I figure if I ever really want to have the payload, I'd probably just buy a utility trailer and not beat up the back of my box. More of a city vehicle right now than anything else is planned for it. I have power fold mirrors. Power fold mirrors. Automatic running board. Nice leather interior, still has that new car smell. Put in a recorder for driving, helps with insurance. I'm a pretty tame driver these days, so if I'm gonna get into an accident, it's more than likely not gonna be my fault. Always helps to have video evidence, especially on a brand new vehicle. So we're gonna do a cold start on this. One issue I've been having is the battery seems to be bad. It's been on the lot for 18 months and I think it froze last winter. So I'm gonna go in and get that replaced this week. Nice productivity screen. Navigation. 2018 still had the CD player, which I like. Unless you're running lossless files for your audio these days. A CD sounds superior, believe it or not. Cup holders in the back, nice back. So I'm gonna do a cold start. You want to put your foot on the brake and hit the start button?
Wait, hold it?
Just press it. Oh, did you have your foot on the brake?
Oh, no.
No. Put your foot on the brake and hit the start button. I gotta say, my favorite part of this vehicle is the mileage, which so far I've been getting pretty close to 30 miles to the gallon on the highway. And how that's achieved is definitely from the 10-speed transmission, which is absolutely incredible. Going from a 4-speed overdrive RE4R 03A in the Nissan with electronic torque converter lockup in 4th and 3rd sometimes, and a tow haul, to a 10-speed with multiple modes: eco mode, performance, normal, tow haul, snow. Such a massive difference. Let's go take a look at the exhaust, what's required. So even now on this vehicle, the exhaust, it doesn't smell. It actually kind of smells good. Sweet a little bit, which is very odd for a diesel with the experience I've had. So I think that might be the DPF. Or is it the SCR? I gotta get closer under there. I'm laying in the wet now. So yeah, that's got to be the SCR. Or combination thereof. Down in there is going to be our diesel particulate filter. Nice one-piece aluminum drive shaft. Ford's really upped their game. I've always been a Ford fan, but I will admit some of their stuff from the early 2000s and late 90s was less than desirable, especially when you look at it in today's standards. I think at the time it might have been, you know, not as good, but not as bad as it would appear now. 2018's got the bigger differential. FX4 has, I don't know if I call it a skid plate, but protectant for the gas tank, transfer case. Let's get closer to the motor. Fully independent front suspension. Gonna put in new shock absorbers. One's from the factory or substandard, but I do care a lot about how my vehicles drive. So it's always one of my first investments is to upgrade the suspension. And on different vehicles it has different meaning. Yeah, everything's buttoned up pretty tight. There's really not much to see other than just how quiet it is for a diesel. Come a long way. And they've backslid a long way depending on how you look at it. Yeah, so 3 liter, 24 valve, quad overhead cam, 250 horsepower, 440 foot-pound of torque. Kind of think that Ford should release a ECM update on this. You can easily make more power, and they can outdo the GM's 3 liter inline PowerStroke, which I'm sure will be a really nice motor. Though I do prefer a block, which is cast iron. Probably just preference, not really based in any knowledge to the contrary that it won't last as long, especially if it's like their other motors, which seem to be fantastic. Thought about doing the delete on the exhaust and the EGR because it is fairly tough on the oil. I'm at 1,000, actually I'm at 1,300 kilometers. Went for a hike with the kids yesterday and the cousins. Vancouver, super nice. Ink pots, recommend it to anybody. Banff. Yeah, 1,300 kilometers. You run it between your fingers, it's nice and clean. I think it's just EGR and the catalysts impart a higher soot load into the engine oil, and new engine oil allows it to hold on to that soot and hopefully isolate it from the rest of the moving parts in a way that you get less abrasion and less wear. I guess the whole idea behind the deletes is you're helping your engine by not putting that into it. But I kind of like the fact how quiet this is and how it's clean. And if it makes a difference of 20,000 kilometers a decade from now, then I'm prepared to leave it the way it is. If I do anything, I think I'll keep all of that emissions intact and go with a tune from an outfit in the United States which does increased power but more finely tuned from an emissions point of view, so engine runs cleaner, makes more power. I'll have to look into the timing, see what they change on that. Not sure if I really want to make the timing too aggressive.